I'm Bonnie Brooks.
I'm John Wickersham.
Marshall Brooks, and I went to college in 1940, back when the war was raging in Europe, and I didn't have any money. And I'd heard about a college where you could go and earn your tuition because everything on the college, every function of the college was done by the students. And when you came, they gave you an interview to see what job you could take. And of course, I'd done nothing in my life in terms of heavy work at that time. So when I went in for my interview, he said, "What can you do?" And I said, "Nothing." He said, "Well, what would you like to do?" I said, "Since I can do nothing, I'll be a dishwasher in the kitchen." The man interviewing me never had a student come in ask for the job of dishwasher.
Talking about the comparison of college in my day and college nowadays, that would be kind of interesting. The major difference is that back in 1957 when I matriculated, as a matter of fact, I had a Naval ROTC scholarship all but in hand to go to Notre Dame, but I failed the physical because they determined that I had abnormal brainwave patterns, and so that's why I ended up in college teaching. I think that's the blessing there. The big difference between college in those days and college nowadays is the nature of the program. In those days, nobody went to college. Very few people went to college saying, "I'm going to be a." You went to college. Out of my graduating high school class, there were 3 of us who went away to college out of 50 students. Although all 3 of us won PhDs eventually, but it was sort of typical, not too many. College was not something everyone aspired to.
I graduated from high school in 1945 as in the 1946, I beg your pardon, shortly after the war ended. And as other people did in our day, we went to the local, the closest state college, and that was Cape Girardeau. So when I entered Cape Girardeau, my majors were mathematics and music, which seems like an odd combination, but they are related. During the course of my freshman year, we went to some local night spots, as college kids do. And one evening, my friends brought Marshall by my table to introduce him to me.
My next job, I came home and I needed a job in the wintertime. A friend of mine lived up the street. He was the head of the FW Woolworth store in Wellston. But the thing is, we'd get there at 6 o'clock in the morning before it got daylight. We'd close the store at 9 o'clock at night, and I had to sweep the whole place out. We wouldn't get home till 9:30 or 10. Mr. Devil said, "How would you like to go into Woolworth business? We'll make you a senior manager of one of the stores, put you in the manager training program." I thought about it. Go in before daylight, get out after dark, 12 months a year. I don't think I want to do that. I thanked Mr. Devil a great deal and told him I thought I'd go back to college. I went to Washington University after I got out of the Army because it didn't cost me anything to go. Went to class at 8 o'clock in the morning and ended up about 3:30 in the afternoon. Again, I knew the guy I was a buddy of the guy whose father was the head of the traffic department at the Chevrolet plant up on Natural Bridge. So he gave me a job working the Chevrolet department in the traffic department. Since I have a problem of reversing numbers, they're still probably looking for some of those cars. And I decided Washington University was not the school for me. If I was ever going to graduate, I better get myself to a school away from Webster Groves and University City and get down to Cape Girardeau, Missouri. That's where I ended up. And that's where I met your grandmother, and that may be the end of all the stories you need from me tonight.
I didn't even remember I had met him, which disturbs him somewhat. But we got married in October, and so I ended up quitting my college career and raising my daughter and giving piano lessons. And then we were in Jackson, Missouri, which was a town very next to Cape Girardeau, and it was a pleasant place. We lived there 3 years.
Of course, USF was all men, and San Diego was all men. Nowadays, about the only places, I don't even know if there are really any all-male schools left. It was kind of different. The classes were in an all-male setting, pretty rowdy, a lot of loose talk and a lot of tough talk. And as soon as I got into the company of women, which I did at Colorado College, which was co-ed, I really found it difficult because you had to watch what you say, and you had to be polite, and you couldn't swear and that sort of stuff. So it was a pretty shocking thing. Plus, you had to make an attempt to look presentable when you went to school. Whereas when I was at USF, I mean, you were lucky if you wore your underwear to class. It was one of those kind of things. I fell into this job. I was a graduate student at St. Louis U, and the nun who taught philosophy here at Maryville, very brilliant. They called her 7 Degrees Keys. She had an Oxford PhD. She became very ill in midsummer and was dead by August. So suddenly they found themselves minus a philosophy professor when school was about to open. And so they called one of my professors at St. Louis U and asked him if he had any graduate students that he thought could teach a couple of philosophy classes.
When the third child came along, we said we need a bigger house. So we moved to Webster Groves. And meanwhile, I'm going to school summers, whenever I can, night school, Washington University, summer school at Cape Girardeau, and had 2 teaching jobs. And finally I got my degree, entered Webster University, got my master's degree, still wasn't done, got my postmaster's degree. I felt like I had been going to school forever. In fact, when I finally got that final degree, the family gave me a card that says, "Welcome back to the family."
I came out here, well, it was like paradise. I mean, 400 really some awesome looking girls. And we were so far out in the woods in those days that there were it was like a women's prison. Well, of course, I was here. Dr. Wachtel across the hall was here. And then there was Jerry Sherry and Griff Smith and 2 or 3 other young guys, such as I. We all ended up marrying Maryville girls.
Networking. The problem is networking will get you a job, but networking will not keep the job.
Not give up and create your own job if you have to. And that might be what you have to do.
These ought to be 4 of the best years of your lives. Have fun, that's really important. But as well, 4 years to really grow in understanding. 4 years that you're really able to devote yourselves to becoming a well-educated person. So that is my advice. Gather ye rosebuds while ye may, as the poet says. Time is still a-flying. This same flower that smiles today, tomorrow will be dying. Time is passing us by.